I'm pleased to be joined on the Crispin Flintoff show by Jake Williamson and Stan Bates. How you doing, Jake?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm fine as well, Crispin.
Good to see you both. Both councillors in Wakefield. Now, Jake, on the 3rd of March, you made a speech at Wakefield council meeting, and I'd just like to play that, and then we'll talk straight after that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not supporting this budget today. Our party promised change and an end to austerity and an end to council tax rises, and that's what we all campaigned on during the general election, and all of that's been reneged on today. £29 million of savings is austerity, and yet again we're raising council tax by the maximum. We're expecting our residents to pay more every year for less, and this budget is nothing more than a litany of broken promises by this government. And some people may say they've only been in a year, but I have no faith things will get better with the choices already being made. They're attacking welfare. The government's refused to lift the two-child benefit cap, betrayed WASPy women, raised the bus cap and took the winter fuel allowance off vulnerable pensioners, and now they're going after those on disability benefits. And it's not change. I don't care what anybody says, it's a continuation of Tory austerity, and it's a disgrace. And we know what the consequences of austerity are. Various studies, including one by the LSE, showed that it led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, working class people and the most vulnerable in our society, the very people our party is supposed to fight for.
Councillor Williamson, can I just interrupt you for one moment, please? You need to make reference to the budget that's been put forward to you, which is the budget of Wakefield's cabinet to this council.
It's an austerity budget, and I was just talking about the consequences of austerity, Mr. Mayor.
Just one moment, please. The consequences of austerity is for another place. You need to talk about the budget that's been put forward here. If you continue to do that, that's fine. If you're going to talk about national issues and issues that we've no control over, and previous government, we will not be moving forward. In a moment, Councillor Sharp.
But those national issues influence what we're here to do today, Mr. Mayor. Right, and austerity, this is an austerity budget, and austerity damages working class communities, whether it's done nationally or locally. And I'm not coming in here after my working class residents are struggling through benefit cuts from national government and then coming in here and voting for more austerity at a local level and voting for another hike in council tax, pushing my residents further into financial hardship. I just won't do it.
You took that interjection from that guy pretty well. I would have been a bit nervous and thrown by it, but you sort of, you kind of knew how to ride it.
I don't know about that, but I just knew I just stood up for what I know was right. Obviously, I know that our budget is determined by the budget set by national government, and when I'm trying to make that point, which I know is right, I'm not going to be, stopped by somebody who thinks otherwise.
I mean, can you go into a bit more detail about what would the effect be of that budget?
Well, part of it is another maximum rise in council tax, which Wakefield Council has done every year since 2010. So there's a knock-on effect of the last, now 15 years of a maximum council tax rise every year, obviously put into a wider sort of economic picture of pay restraint over the last 15 years. Obviously, the Tory austerity to benefits and things, and then obviously now the welfare cuts and things that are coming in by the new Labour government. And we're at a point now where working class communities have got nothing else left to give. And it was the Labour Party that promised nationally there'd be a freeze to council tax rises and there'd be an end to austerity. And I just voted in line with what we were campaigning on during the last general election.
What do you think about the other Labour councillors? Why haven't they spoken out? Why do you think you and Stan, I mean, the only two that spoke out?
I can't really comment to what's going on in people's minds, but I am disappointed no one else decided to speak up. I think a lot of it is a lot of councillors just don't sort of have a view of the wider picture we're operating in. There's a lot of councillors who, to me, it appears are just happy just to be in office. That's it's a means to an end is being a councillor. That's it. Whereas for me, getting into public office is about changing things. It's about improving people's lives. And yeah, I think that's it really.
I mean, can I put it another way? Do you think
Yeah.
a lot of councillors are not political? They just think that they sit in the meetings and discuss dog poo and potholes.
Yeah, I don't think there's any political vision from a lot of councillors, and I honestly believe that were Wakefield Council controlled by a different party, there'd be some councillors who'd be in that different party.
Right.
So yeah, I just don't think there's a lot of political backbone in a lot of councillors.
I mean, I heard people cheering when you said you're not supporting the budget. Did you get a lot of support after you made that speech?
Yeah, so I mean, in the council, I mean, some of those were opposition members, including Conservatives, which I'm not too thrilled about them cheering. But there were some members of the public as well. And following the meeting, I've had messages from people across the country, whether it's emails to my council email or messages on Facebook. I've had, people ringing me, telling me they're proud of the way I voted and they're happy that there's somebody representing them. That's people in my ward, people across the district. I've had people from Scotland, London, Wales, the parts of the country as well. And I've had a lot of support following the meeting. I have had either current party members, particularly within my own ward, who have expressed support publicly, and people who were party members until recently who resigned, but then supported me publicly as well.
Right. And do you anticipate more people coming to show support for you as an independent? They might switch from Labour.
I mean, a lot of the messages I have had are from my own constituents saying they would vote for me if I'd decided to stand as an independent.
Right. And when would the test for that be? Is that next year or?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now the thing that came out of that is, I mean, you got a lot of attention on social media, but also from local media too, because there's this story here. Labour Party confirms councillor suspensions over Wakefield budget dissent. There's you and Stan there. Stan, because you're obviously part of this as well. You didn't vote in support of the budget. How did you get suspended? Was that straight away?
Actually, it was 2 weeks before the meeting. Just to go back a bit, we had what they call a round table meeting about the budget, and Jake spoke about it in his speech. Really, we were lied to because the cabinet members went round. We all sat at different tables, and particularly the one on jobs. I was told at that table by the cabinet portfolio holder that there would be a few voluntary redundancies. And that concerned me. So I asked him what the numbers were, and he said he didn't know, but he described it as good news. And I don't, even voluntary redundancies are not good news. It's a vacancy that's gone that could lift someone out of poverty. It's the job that's gone. It's not the person. Okay, if you're approaching retirement and you get a golden handshake, that's fine. But but after that meeting, I was watching our local television station, Look North, and they announced through the media that it was 270 jobs, and I was shocked. And I thought, oh, they couldn't tell us that. They couldn't tell us I'm supposed to be a decision maker, but they chose to put that out. The public knew at the same time as I did, and I was angry about it. And following that, they'd also announced cutbacks to the library services and garden waste bins. And then I saw on social media, councillors claiming credit for it, loads of them, that they'd managed to get them to roll back on that. And it incensed me. I thought, it's a lie, you know. So I posted on social media what I thought about it. And the next day, I was within 50 minutes, the investigation had been concluded, the invitations went out, and I was on a disciplinary. And the disciplinary took place 2 weeks before that meeting. And what I said at that disciplinary, they like to throw stones at me, but it was virtually a mirror of what Jake said in the chamber, you know. That jobs, I'm really concerned about that. I'm a trade unionist. I've been a shop steward like Jake, and they lied to us. And I found that, and I said it at the meeting, that it was cynical to pretend that you were going to cut back on library services, people worried about whether they were going to lose their incomes and already struggling, and then to roll back on that as if it was some great victory. I just thought it was a cynical political play. And I know the game, we've played those games, but not with people's livelihoods and that, you know. So, and not to mention the jobs, the cuts and that. And Jake found out afterwards through the financial officer that there were 14 jobs at risk of compulsory redundancy. You know, so in any job, it's just too much. So they recommended that I was suspended indefinitely. And out of 40 councillors, 38 voted for that, which I found disgusting. They were not interested in what I was saying. That if you don't, my point was that the government have imposed this, they've broken the promise, and you're just accepting it. There's nobody willing to comment on that, you know, to fight back. You know, I accepted it. They're putting the story out that they were forced, they've got to produce a legal budget. Well, I know that, and I pointed that out. I'm not saying don't produce a legal budget, but at least say why we have this. This has been done because Starmer rolled back on his promises to properly fund public services and freeze council tax. So I was really disappointed, and I have to say angry, that my own colleagues voted to suspend me rather than face the issues. So I was suspended 2 weeks before that meeting, and obviously I was determined that I wasn't going to support it. And Jake's speech I thought was excellent, and so we voted against it. None of our colleagues approached us after that. There's none of us approached us since. Been no conversations. And my ward is next to Jake's ward, and it's one of the most deprived areas of the country. And I did a surgery that following Saturday, not expecting what response I would get, but I do it in the library, and my residents were coming in and congratulating me and shaking my hand and thanking me for sticking up for them. And Jake got the same thing. And the response from the public, I think we've tapped into something that's more than just about Wakefield Council's budget. It's the whole mood in the country. You know, they've got nowhere to go. They've got no representation. The Labour Party, the Tory Party, what's the difference anymore? You know, wherever you vote, you're going to get the same thing. So people are in despair. They're angry. You know, and they need a government that's going to stick up for them, and it's just not the Labour Party anymore. So that's how it came about for me. And when you ask about colleagues, what you think of them, I did say it in the chamber once before. If this was a Tory-controlled council, half of you lot would be in it. You'd be Tories, you know, because they are apolitical. And I've got a similar history in the party as Jake. I've served the party. I joined when Michael Foot was the leadership. That's how far back I go. And Jake served the party in various roles, so have I. You know, we didn't join the party just to ride on its back to become councillors. It's just after 40 odd years, I didn't join the party to become a councillor. You know, we thought we could change things, but obviously not. You know, it's national issues they don't want to know, but they do affect everything. You know, and the job cuts and that, it's just they didn't even look. The Labour Party, the Labour group in Wakefield, did not produce this budget. It was done by the civil servants, you know, and they've just gone along with it. There's no political aspect to it, no consequences thought of or anything, and it was never properly debated. And that was my stance. I don't accept collective responsibility if I've taken no part in the debate. There was no vote on it to approve it. So we didn't get the chance to say what we thought. I said it in a disciplinary behind closed doors, but they ignored it. So Jake said it in a public meeting, and here we are. We're being disciplined for it. And I'm not sure it's the Labour Party's for me, especially what happened this week with Liz Kendall. You know, it's I would call on our MPs to say, why are you still in the party? Why are you accepting this? What point are you going to say this is enough? You know, we've had enough of it. And I don't know the answer to that, but I do think that Labour MPs, well, most of them are selected, they're parachuted in by Starmer, so they've got no backbone. But Labour councillors are not being selected by, we're not parachuted in by Starmer. And I do think if every Labour councillor stood up and said no, we could make a difference.